Visparad 2. 1. In this Zaathra, with this Berisman, I desire to approach the lords of the ritual, which are spiritual, with my praise, and I desire to approach the earthly lords as well, and I desire to approach the lords of the water with my praise, and the lords of the land, and I desire to approach with my praise those chiefs which strike the wing, and those which wander wild at large, and those of the cloven hoof, who are chiefs of the ritual, in their turn. 2. In this Zaathra, with its bearsmen, I desire to approach the holy yearly festivals with my praise, the lords of the ritual order, Ma'idyo Zeremeya, the milk giver, and Ma'idyo Shema, the pasture giver, and Pa'itishahya, the corn giver, kernels, and Eyathrima, the breeder, the spender of the seed and males, Ma'idya Irya, the cold, Hamas Pathma Adeya, the especial time for ritual duties, the holy lords of the ritual order. 3. And in this Zaathra with this Berisman, I desire to approach the future one of the settlements with my praise, the holy lord of the ritual order, when the future one shall produce them as it were anew. And in this Zaathra with this Berisman, I desire to approach all three chieftains of the ritual with my praise, whom Ahura Mazda mentioned Zarathustra for sacrifice and homage, because of the Asha Vahista, of righteousness the best. 4. And in this Zathra with his bearsmen, I desire to approach thee, the Lord with my praise, thou who art Ahura Mazda, the spiritual Lord and regulator of the spiritual creatures, the Lord and regulator of the spiritual creation, and everything. And in this Zaathra with his bearsmen, I desire to approach thee, Zarathustra Spitama, with my praise, the terrestrial Lord and regulator of the terrestrial creation, the Lord and regulator of the terrestrial creation. 5. And in this Zaathra with this bearsman, I desire to approach the man who recites the ritual rites with my praise, who is maintaining thus the thought well thought, and the word well spoken, and the deed well done, and piety the bountiful, even him who maintains the Mathra of the Sa'ashant, by whose actions the settlements are advanced in the righteous order. 6. And in this Zaathra with this Berisman, I desire to approach the yearly seasons with my praise, the holy lords of the ritual order, and the Ahuna Va'irya, as it is recited, and Asha Vahista, when he is lauded, and the Yenhe Hatam, the frequent chant of sacrifice. 7. And in this Zaathra with this bearsman, I desire to approach the Gatha Ahuna Va'ite with my praise. And in this Zaathra with this bearsman, I desire to worship those women with my praise who are well proportioned and of good parentage, and who are stately in their growth. Yea, I desire to approach that chant in my praise, which has the Alva and the Ratu, for he is verily the one who has the Ahu and the Ratu, that is Ahura Mazda. And I desire to approach the heroic Yasna, Hatanga Ite, in my praise, the holy and ruling the ritual order, and Ardvisara and Ahita, the holy and ruling in ritual order. 6. And in this Zaathra, with this bearsman, I desire to approach the Gatha, Usta Va'ete, with my praise, the holy and ritual and ruling in the ritual order, and I desire to approach those mountains with my praise, which shine with holiness, abundantly glorious, Mazda made, the holy lords of the ritual order, and the Gathas Spenta Ma'inu, and Verathragna, the blow of victory, Mazda given, the holy lord of the ritual order, and the victorious ascendancy which it bestows. 9. And in this Zaathra with this bearsman, I desire to approach the Gatha, Ahu Kshatra, with my praise, the holy and ruling in the ritual order, and Mithra, the wide pastures, and Raman Havastra, and the Gatha, the Histo Iste, and the pious and good prayer for blessings, and the pious and holy man, and that Izad, the redoubted and swift curse of the wise. 10. And in this Za'athra with disparagement I desire to approach, the Iryama Ishyo with my praise, and the Vachu Sho Matra, and that lofty Lord, the Hadha Ktha, holy lords of the ritual order. 11. And in this Za'athra with disparagement I desire to approach, the question acts of Ahura, and the lore of the Lord, which he reveals in answer. And the farmhouse of the man possessed of pastures, and the pasture produced for the kind of blessed gift, and the holy cattle breeding man. And so we see the difference is of women being honored, and all this honoring to the point of approaching. The male and the female, the angel, it's not quite the same, we don't have to worship, we don't have to treat these things as gods for that to be understood, Visparad 2 should be read after Yasna 2:8, of which is an extension. Now, if that's not explicitly said, traditionally or otherwise, this is, let's not speak of outside the tradition, particularly people who are anyways, I'm not going to speak bad of the author or whatever, or that's be going too far. But if you're not part of a tradition, or you don't believe like some of these things, or you don't see how you're. But anyways, I desire to approach thee. In verse 4, it's certainly not impossible that the idea of invoking the approach of Ahura was meant, but approaching him is more natural. Kind of like the hadith about if you go to God a handspan, he comes to you an arm's length, and that sort of thing. It's not saying that God, you physically go to where God is, or God physically comes to you, or something like that. It's, a little bit different. Works better as a metaphor than it does as something we can't understand physically. In terms, spatially, in terms of something that's transcends space. But the regulator, the spiritual lord and regulator, is Ahumka Ratumka, long U with both of those, applied to the same person, the usage arising from a reading of the Ahuna, the area, see Yasna 29, verse 12. And him who maintains the Mathra, the Sa'ashant, awaiting the messianic figure is not it's not vicarious in this tradition, and it's not some defeatist, we can't get anything done until the Messiah. No, it's not that sort of thing at all. But Yo with K7b and K11, Daratem, the passive form, are who has the Mathra held. The text must, however, be in disorder. Well, no, if you have it held in mind, or you're propitiating it, or you're practicing it, and we refer to the Asham Bahu as the lauding of the Asha Bahista, the well-proportioned, as long as it's healthy, right? The Pahlavi leads more in that direction. But certain proportions are thick or thin. They work. The Pazand has this note of the for he is verily the one who has the Ahu and the Ratu, that is Ahura Mazda. And going from 7 to 8, we have the to approach these mountains. You know, I mean, even literally the spiritualizing of mountain climbing. Nothing wrong with that. That's pretty cool. The sentence affords support of my rendering of yes, and expressing a desire to approach rather than one for the approach of the genius of the mountain. At the same time, the latter idea may be very possibly the correct one. Expressions are curtailed. Yasna 2:10 follows Visparad 2:11. And this chapter 1 through 5 follow Visparad 1 through 5 follows Yasna 11, 1 through 8, and the Vendidad Sada, and so appropriately. Okay, so he's qualified his statement here.